Welcome to our new season, Trade Secrets.
We're handing the microphone to the people who actually build, wire, plumb, and finish our homes.
And we're asking them what are the top 5 things that every home renovator should know?
The mistakes to avoid, the money worth spending, and tips to make every renovation run a little more smoothly.
Welcome back to the podcast. Hi, Kate.
Hi, Jen.
Trade Secrets continues. You guys seem to be loving this series. Thank you, everyone who sent us messages or questions. We love hearing from you, so keep it up. This week we are talking to our kitchen supplier who supplied my kitchen and 2 of your kitchens.
Yep.
Savvy Kitchens and
So
Thurles.
savvy, yeah. We couldn't go to anyone else really talking about kitchens,
What?
considering we've only used them for our kitchens.
You put me onto them and I had a great experience. So I wouldn't go anywhere else based on that.
No.
And you didn't either. So this one we got written responses back. So we'll read them back and we will talk about them. Same format as our other episodes. I've got a lot to add to this because there was so much in the kitchen design, and we talk about this all the time, how important it is, how it's the first part of the house that we always design, how it's good to get things done early. But I think like all those lessons I learned from Savvy.
Yeah. I mean, they're very, very thorough in the planning stages.
Yeah.
And they won't just say, fine, you want that style, this layout. They won't just take that and run with it. They'll like really grill you on why you want it that way,
Yeah.
And the right answer is not because you saw a picture on Instagram, because in our experience, Dawn won't design the kitchen for you that way.
She won't do it, and she's absolutely right.
She's like, is that actually how you're going to use it? Is that actually how your kitchen's going to look,
Yeah. So I went down, Savvy do custom kitchens. And even if you're listening to this and custom is not in your budget for this, whatever renovation you're facing, I think there's so many lessons in this that you can still apply to designing your own kitchen. Or we recommend going to Savvy, or, if you're going somewhere else, you should expect this level, I think, of design, of planning, of kind of interrogation. And I really strongly feel personally that even if you have a fixed idea of what you want your kitchen to be, people who design and install kitchens all day, every day should be listened to, because they've picked up so many lessons learned and they've made all their mistakes and they know what works and what doesn't. So I do think they're worth listening to. Anyway, that is my love affair with Savvy and
I agree.
Dawn.
If you're going into a kitchen place and you're not specifically a design professional yourself, they should be really grilling your initial thoughts on your layout, like why you want it that way. If they're worth anything at all as a kitchen design place, they will ask you all those questions and they will get to the root of your reasoning, I think.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, let's dive into the questions. So same format as our previous few episodes. The first question we asked was, you need to plan this earlier than you think. So Savvy's answer was, your kitchen design should be considered before any construction drawings are signed off, really. A simple door location can sometimes make or break a kitchen workflow. Have your kitchen planned before any first fix electrics and plumbing. So everything from lighting and sockets to window positions and structural details are all designed around how you'll actually live in the space. Good planning saves money, avoids compromises, and it gives you a much better end result. So we say this all the time. And like, I went down to Savvy on your recommendation with my plans, which weren't fully fixed yet. So I think it's just a good heads up that like that is the time to do it. But when things
and usually if you have an architect, they'll typically put in some basic kind of layouts.
Yeah.
Some architects are more involved at that level of detail or design, and some architects aren't. They'll just put literally boxes where the run of units and an island might fit or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important to run through before those drawings are finally signed off, is that the layout you want? Because things like appliances and wiring, and like Dawn said in her message, a doorway, if you don't have enough space for a standard 60 depth unit to open beside that opening, they'll be crashing into each other. Or like, the doors aren't opening on top of each other, or you're covering a plug socket that you need or something like that. So like all those bits are actually it's surprising how soon you need them. But you don't need to have, that doesn't mean you need to have like, oh, I'm going for a green door and
Yeah.
quartz countertops. Like it just literally means putting the correct blocks in the correct spaces, and you've thought how many of those blocks you need from your own, requirements.
And like it seems simple, especially if you have a small kitchen, but I just want to give like an example of the impact of that process in this house. So if anyone's watching, you can see my kitchen layout. Okay, it's a bit of a mess at the moment. I haven't tidied it up properly. Or if you're listening, you'll find loads of pictures of my kitchen on Instagram at Workers Cottage. But my house was at the back of my house was an L-shaped extension, right? It's always going to be an L-shaped extension, and it was always going to have an extension on one specific side because of the orientation and the aspect of the
Mm.
light that would come in from having it on that side. So with an L-shaped extension, that kind of left like three areas or sections, kind of living, kitchen, dining. And unclear, at build stage, like what section was going to be which. So originally, my kitchen was going to be where my living area is now. The thinking being that it
Yeah.
would be a kind of a U-shaped kitchen with a peninsula coming out from what is now the kind of central beam between two sliding doors, and that sliding one of the sliding doors would actually be a window instead of sliding doors. And when we sat down and talked about how I use my kitchen, what I need to every day, what my movements generally are through a house, how I want to use my garden, how I want to use my living room, the fact that I don't have a TV, lots of things came together to say, well, actually, a better position for my kitchen is in the extension with a full
Mm-hmm.
height, floor to ceiling cabinets with no overhead
Yeah.
cabinets, which I don't like and didn't need that extra wall space for, and a bigger peninsula in the middle. So that's a huge change and wouldn't have been possible, I think, even if, the foundational work had started.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's a really good point though, like how much more you might have fit in by just changing that around, or
yeah,
how much more glazing, like depending on what your priority is. But like for me, when I look at a kitchen, I'm like, where's my tall bank going?
yeah,
Where is my oven? If it's an eye level oven, where's my fridge and my freezer and those tall units going? Because they have to fit somewhere, like they have to be able to open. So you have to kind of anchor those as well as, say, your hob and your sink. And
yeah,
then when you've those kind of anchored, you can kind of build stuff around. And it's really interesting you say about the wrap there. And some people plan their glazing. They're like, I just want loads of sliders, the whole
mm,
back. And then they realize they don't have enough wall length for cabinetry.
yeah,
And they're like, oh, my hob can't go alongside my sink now. It has to go over there. Or they're squeezing it, and then you're left with little slivers of countertop. And maybe a wrap might have been better in their scenario, you know?
yeah,
So like it's interesting how the kitchen can impact, your glazing, your openings, the distance those doors or windows start from a corner.
yeah,
I always say to people like, unless you're 100 million% sure that you don't want furniture on that wall, take the start of those doors out 60 to 70 centimeters, 60
yeah,
absolutely minimum centimeters, but like ideally 70 centimeters plus. So if you're stuck, you can put a cabinet in there, or you
yeah,
can run the cabinetry up to that corner.
yeah. Give yourself that option, which I do have in the extension. But if I hadn't done that, the room that I'm sitting in now, it's tiny. Like it's, 2.5 meters maybe by 2 to 2.5 in each of those sections. Like we're talking about a really small space. But when you walk in, the number one thing everyone says is, "Oh my God, did you knock into next door?" Because it doesn't feel small. And I
Yeah,
don't think that effect would have been achieved with the original kitchen layout where I didn't have the two sets of sliders. Almost contrary to
yeah,
what you were saying, it could, because you're saying if you've got a big house, you're taking up a whole wall, you're actually sacrificing more than you think. I assume because I had a small house, I had to sacrifice one wall for kitchen
mm,
cabinets, but actually because of the cleverness of Dawn's design, I didn't. And it opens the space up so much and makes it feel so much bigger. It really brings the outside in. So
yeah.
I just cannot stress enough how early bringing in that designer and trusting that, that those skills, I think, is really, really important to your overall design, not even just your kitchen. Huge.
Agree. Earlier than you think, for sure.
Okay, second question. When it comes to kitchens, what should you spend more money on? So, spend your money on the things that will make your life easier every single day. Invest in quality cabinetry, good storage, and appliances that improve how you live. A powerful extractor fan, boiling water tap, Okay, we'll disagree on that. An oven with features like assisted cooking functions are all things that you'll appreciate for years to come. A range cooker, for example, might look beautiful, but if it doesn't suit your family's lifestyle, it's not necessarily the best investment. Buy for the way that you live, not just the way that it looks.
I think Donna's just given a list of all the things that can make certain people's life easier, and it
Yeah,
depends on you. And I think it's good to assess, what are those things like your non-negotiables that you really want in your kitchen.
yeah,
So it might be like I love cabinetry. So like, do you remember
yeah.
we spoke about this before? You didn't go for, say, some of the kind of detailed on the inside
Dovetail
of the
joints and
cabinetry
things
where
like
we did
that.
all the dovetail joints and all that. And people are like, why would you bother spending money on that? I don't know. I just love seeing that kind of joinery when I opened the cabinet. So
Yeah.
that for me was important. I agree with you. I could take or leave the boiling water tap, but I'd take the sparkling water
Take the
tap
sparkling
all
water
day
tap all day, every
long
day. I
till
love
my
it so
yeah, but
much.
they come together unfortunately,
I
so it's hard to
know.
have one without the other. But yeah, it's really important to work out like what you need. I love the look of those colorful ranges and everything that
Yeah.
Dawn's mentioning there, but they are 100% a design choice
They're a
because
lifestyle
I d-
choice.
I
They're a
don't think you can
lifestyle
argue
choice.
that those are more functional than modern eye level appliances.
No, and I've lived with
Am I
both
wrong?
because the house that I grew up in, at home, we had an Aga. We had an Aga range,
Mm.
big old Aga. It did all the heating for the whole house. I learned to cook on that Aga. I learned to bake in that Aga, and I agree with you and I agree with Dawn that you have to choose for yourself what do you want. If that
Yeah.
is your lifestyle and that works for you and you like having a range that's always
Mm.
on, always warm, that is not, super specific in its temperature that you know how to deal with and how to work with, then that is the right choice for you. If you're not, if you just, cook sometimes in the evenings or you mostly use your hob and not your oven or whatever, different choices will work for you. So
Yeah.
it all comes down to what works for your life, which is exactly what Dawn is saying. But do not be
Mm.
distracted by a pretty finish because as much as I loved that Aga and they look so beautiful, like you're changing your lifestyle to to suit it, do you know?
Yeah, it is very romantic though, and it really does
Yeah,
look beautiful in certain kitchens. I don't think I'll honestly ever own one because I really do like a functional kitchen. I like to cook a lot
yeah,
practically, and like the two of us tend to cook a lot together. So like we'd be on top of each other. I think we were in a range,
yeah,
had a range. But one thing that spills over into this kind of spend more money on, you have to ask yourself about countertops because it's a big part of your budget as well as appliances, right?
true.
So like I always say, like you've three buckets. You have your base cabinetry, which could be anywhere from 15 to 50K, like
Yeah,
depending on your specs and the size of your kitchen. And
yeah,
then the next bucket is your appliances, which might be 5K, but they might be 20K, like
yeah,
depending on the spec of your appliances and the number of them. And then the third bucket is your countertops. And like countertops, people don't want marble because it's more maintenance, or they don't want quartz because I don't know, it's more expensive than a
yeah,
standard laminate or whatever. So like I think you have to decide as well from that bucket, that countertop bucket, whether it's worth spending money on porcelain so it's heat resistant and it's bomb proof if you have kids or whatever and you're not
yeah,
want to minding it. And for me, like that was definitely something that I planned into my kitchen this time. I spent more money on my countertops because I wanted real stone, but I wanted quartzite because quartzite is the bomb-proof version of real stone, and
yeah,
that's why I kind of budgeted for it early.
yeah,
So I think it's important to budget for, yeah, you and your day to day.
yeah, 100,000%. And I think I'll add to that at the moment, there's more choice recently, I think, in appliance options than there were even when I was choosing. Because when I was choosing, 5, 6 years ago, there were, smart ovens and smart appliances. They were all crap, to be honest. Like they were all just kind of,
Different settings on the same
yeah,
thing, same hardware.
same hardware, different settings, just kind of trying to lean in, I guess, to smart home for the sake of it was my interpretation. But
Yeah.
now there are genuinely, pretty incredible appliances out there, like ovens with computer vision in them that will essentially cook your food for you, and you can
Mm.
control the whole thing from your phone. And like you have that gorgeous drawer, the Fisher Paykel fridge drawer that can be set to different temperatures. That's huge. If you're somebody who
Yeah.
entertains a lot or needs extra storage at certain times of the year in a
Or
freezer,
you're in
it's
a heat
huge.
wave
Or
and
you're
you
in a
want a
heat,
whole drawer full of cold drinks.
which I do desperately. I'm so jealous. Or dishwashers that are again, they're Fisher Paykel. I saw them when I was in New Zealand a couple of years ago. They're dishwashers that are the same size and height as a normal dishwasher, but they have two separate drawers and you can run them separately. So you can do like a half load
Yeah.
every, like I just think there are genuinely excellent appliances out there now. And of course, you know, downdraft extractor hobs, all that kind of stuff has to be thought about and bought in. So if you're at the outset of choosing your kitchen, don't underestimate what you might want from your appliances when you go looking
Yeah.
and see what's out there, because it's finally, I think, genuinely becoming quite differentiated and interesting now.
Yeah.
Okay. On the flip side of that point, our next question for
Mm.
Savvy was don't waste money on. And it's really just the reverse of this answer, right? So don't spend money on something that won't suit your lifestyle. Design your kitchen around the way that you actually live and not the way that you think you should live. Like this is,
Yeah.
it's such a risk. It's such a trap because you fall down a rabbit hole of Pinterest and Instagram and seeing amazing things in other people's kitchens and forgetting that you are not that person and you don't have their life and you would just never use that thing.
What would you consider a waste of money in a kitchen, though? Like I
Um,
love kitchen so much, nothing feels like a waste to me. Like so, I'd spend all my budget there and have no couch, to be honest.
for me, the hot
But
water tap, for example, I think it
yeah,
looks great. And
okay,
when I
fair enough.
first saw it, I was like, oh my God, how handy a hot water tap. And then when I
Mm,
saw, number one, the cost of it, number two, the amount of under counter space it would take up, which I didn't have to sacrifice. And then
mm.
number three, I was like, I don't actually drink that much hot water.
Peak.
Like I have a cup of coffee in the mornings, but I
Yeah,
prefer brewing it in my mocha pot, so no use to me there.
yeah.
And I might have a cup or tea or two throughout the day, but not enough for that level
Not
of
enough to
investment.
warrant. Yeah,
So while
and
I don't think
also,
it's overall a bad investment for lots of people,
yeah,
for me, it wouldn't have been.
and also controversially, I think induction hobs are so fast at boiling water now
Yeah.
that like the idea of filling up a pot full of boiling water to boil pasta is almost redundant because
Yeah.
the boiling water tap spits out water fairly slow at
Hmm.
boiling. You know, it doesn't come out at full tap pressure. It comes out from the tank. So to fill a pot for pasta, you could be talking 60 seconds to fill that pot.
What do you think of those pot fillers that's all over?
Rubbish.
Yeah,
Like what the hell?
totally agree. Oh, crap.
Oh, I can't lift 3 liters from there to there. Like go away. Like it's so
Yeah, how are
ridiculous.
you going to lift the pot off the hob when you're finished
You
with it?
still
That's
have to
my
wash it.
question.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I
Yeah,
think they're gone now. They're gone with the wind.
agreed.
But yeah, the only other thing I would consider a slight waste appliances if you don't care about them. So things like freezers that are really, really expensive or fridges that are really, really expensive that mightn't have better functionality than
Yeah.
the lower model. So that's something that I think could be a waste. And also, I think I know this is controversial, but hardware sometimes, like the knobs and
Mm,
stuff.
yeah.
Like, it's not that I don't appreciate lovely, gorgeous, patinated brass hardware on kitchens, gorgeous, but am I going to spend thousands on it when my budget's tight in the middle of a renovation? Probably not.
Yeah. These
And
are
I think it's
all the
something that's very
individual
easy. Yeah. It's easy
preferences
to
and
change
decisions.
later as well.
Yeah,
So I'd consider
100%.
them
You
a
can
waste.
upgrade your handles, no problem later. I totally agree.
Yeah.
And back to what I was saying about appliances, if you are not somebody who is going to use the smart features of your kitchen
Mm.
appliances, and I would interrogate that really carefully. If you will, and you think that's really cool and you're going to get loads of use out of it, amazing, go for it, because there's lots of cool stuff out there. If you are not, do not spend money on it. Number one, it's going to be a waste of your money. Number two, it introduces a lot of potential failure points in that appliance.
Mm.
If there's extra circuitry, extra computer processing power, whatever, sensors, everything in that appliance, those are all things that can break and go wrong and can be hard to repair down the line. So just really bear that in mind before you decide to go for it.
Yeah. Agree.
Okay, question number four. Do this to avoid kitchen headaches. The smoothest projects are always the ones where everyone communicates. Oh my gosh, done. We love you. Make decisions early, keep your plans updated, and don't be afraid to ask questions and don't presume someone is thinking the same as you. Be extra clear about what you want. A little planning and communication upfront can prevent expensive changes, delays, and unnecessary stress.
Yeah. And like we're kind of like, harping on about this now so many
I
times in the
know.
last few episodes.
But this is because
But
this
like
is
it
all
is,
so important.
I know, but I think like it's easy to say that, but then when it comes to it in the middle of a renovation, you kind of take for granted sometimes that they know what you're talking about, but they don't. They could be on multiple jobs, and joiners are making multiple kitchens for sure at one time. So don't assume that they know your kitchen like you do and to the level of detail you do, because it's only
Yeah.
your kitchen. You only have to remember one. They might have to remember 10 at any one time. So like communication, and don't be afraid to point something out. If you've forgotten something or it's a mistake, the earlier you can point it out, the better, even if it's a tiny, teeny bit awkward to point it out.
I did that actually with this kitchen. So again, listener, if you're watching, Savvy Kitchen installed this banquette seating in my dining area for me as well, along with my kitchen. It all matches. If you're not watching, you can see that on YouTube. And I
Yeah.
did not specify that I wanted a slant on the back of my banquette because I assumed that all banquette seats had a slant or a slope to make them, easier to sit against. Um,
Okay.
and Savvy didn't, because that's not a correct assumption. Plenty of banquette seats are just straight backed, and you throw your cushions on it or whatever. So it came and it was installed, and I was like, no, I don't like that. When you sit back in it, I can feel the top ridge. Surely, obviously, Savvy, it's meant to have a slope on it. And they were like, well, you should have told us, and they took everything away and they remade it and they replaced it. And, that's why we love them. But, and it was no issue because I kind of, said it as early as possible before the rest of the kitchen had gone in.
Yeah.
But that's an example. Like I just assumed that all banquettes had a slant or a slope. So it's
Yeah.
always better to be annoyingly over specific.
Yeah, same thing happened to our coffee machine. So like our pantry is our coffee station.
Yeah.
And like I had said that it's a coffee station, but I guess we probably didn't go to the level of detail in me sending the coffee machine that I had on, which is a behemoth, like it's huge. So
Yeah.
it wasn't deep enough.
Oh,
And I saw the pantry install. I was like, why is that clad kind of so far out from the chimney breast? And they were like, oh, that's the depth of this and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't think that's going to fit my coffee machine. And we were like talking about, like, would we put it in the open section around the
mm,
corner? And I was like, I really don't want to. I just want to put this coffee machine out of sight, especially kind of, it can be slightly messy and whatever. It's something I like to close off in the evening time.
yeah.
So we measured the coffee machine. No, no way it's going to fit. So the backing of that whole pantry had to kind of be revised on site, which took a
Yeah.
bit more time because it was veneered wood as well. That made it a bit more complicated. But as soon as if you see something or see something, say something.
Yeah.
That should really be employed here. But like,
Yeah.
if anything tweaks in your drawings, especially like sockets, switches, whatever, think about all those positions. And if something changes for whatever reason, make sure it's explicit, make sure it's communicated. Things
Yeah.
aren't crashing.
And that's what we always say, go to the site, do a walkthrough, bring your measuring tape, like, and again, plan for how you live, because I wouldn't have had that coffee machine. That wouldn't have been something
Mm,
I bumped up against, but it's something you bumped up against. And then
yeah.
the lesson being, don't make assumptions, but if something is wrong, say it to them when they're on site. And like most people will want to work with you to, come up to a solution. That is
Yeah.
how it goes.
We did. My coffee machine fits all as well.
And my banquette seating is sloped and beautifully comfortable, and I love it. Okay, last question. What is the biggest mistake that homeowners makes? The biggest mistake homeowners make is designing a kitchen based on looks before thinking about how they actually live in it. Every family cooks, entertains, shops, and lives differently. A kitchen should be designed around your daily routine, the space that you are working with, not copied from a magazine or Instagram. So I think we've covered that. I do want to mention this is something that Dawn did with me when I went down to Savvy to design my kitchen. And if your kitchen designer doesn't do it, it's something that you should do yourself, or maybe find a different kitchen designer.
Red flag, red
She had
flag.
a questionnaire, like I can't remember how many
Mm,
pages are in this thing, but I went down, I was like, well, I want a Smeg fridge and this looking kitchen. Like, I was like,
yeah.
I have my design sorted, guys. Thanks. Yeah, can you just go ahead and build that? And Dawn was like, adorable. Yeah, show me those pictures later. Here's your questionnaire. So she
Yeah.
made me sit down and go through this super detailed questionnaire covering, like, do I bake more? Do I roast dinners every week? Do I entertain? Where do people hang
Mm,
out in my house? Like, what are my movements? It was super, it was an exercise.
detailed. Mm,
And it means that the kitchen I have now is so easy to use, works exactly for me and my life and how I, cook, bake, entertain, everything. Um,
yeah. And
it's
this is
just,
something where you and I differ, right? Like,
hmm
I don't have any high cabinets, right? I don't have any high cabinets, but I understand kind of where they're necessary. When people say to me, oh, I want an open shelf, what are you going to put in the open shelf? So you can't design for this beautiful styled shelf you saw on Instagram if you're going to put all your kids' lunchboxes and bottles up there.
Yeah.
Like, it's pointless. Don't have an open shelf then, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that things like that really, you know, speak to like designing for how you live day to
Yeah.
day. And I have an open shelf, but I have a hidey corner for all the fucking mess. Like, do you
Yeah.
know, so when
Yeah.
I'm working at the Hob, all my oils and everything go in there, no one can see them. And then my shelf has a picture on it and some nice cookbooks and,
Yeah.
you know, a few serving things that look nice. So like, I think it's really important to step through the realism of the layout you're looking at. And when I see people designing kitchen now with no hidey corner or nowhere for the mess and they're a family, I'm like, absolutely not. Like,
And that's
are
the
you
crucial
ordering
part, I
every
think,
night and not cooking?
is like you and your family. Because I have a friend who put in these gorgeous open shelves, and she is very neat and she is very tidy and she does keep it all the way it's supposed to look. But her husband doesn't. In come the keys, in comes the posts, all fecked on this one shelf. And she's like, will you please just put it in this other place? So,
Yeah.
you know, design for that compromise. Do not
Yeah, design
assume.
for the junk drawer or the hidey corner beside your hob, or, you know, something that you can easily, you know, hide and put away the mess. And don't, for God's sake, put in an open shelf unless you know exactly what you're going to put in that open shelf and it's going to look nice. Otherwise, it just makes your whole kitchen look messier, in my opinion. It doesn't make it look better in the long run if it's just messy all the time. And the same goes for marble. Like, loads of people are like, I love this Calacatta viola or whatever. Cool.
Which is
Like, are you
beautiful.
nervous about staining? Oh, I love it. But like, are you nervous about staining? Are you nervous about like watermarks on it? And then people are like, oh, you know, curry or a red wine ring left too long bare and now
Lemon,
you have a
sliced in
stain or
lemon.
now you have a ring. Yeah. So like, you know, really think about how you're going to live. That's kind of half the reason, like I said earlier, I went for quartzite. I was like, I liked the look of quartzite, but also I knew it would be a bit more forgiving than me putting in some beautiful Calacatta that was going to be wrecked
Yeah.
a couple of months later.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
design
we're
for
not, this
life,
is no
design for
shade on
mess.
Calacatta or Viola or whatever people like. If you
Yeah.
go through that decision process and decide, yes, this is for me, then do it. Because I don't,
Yeah.
you know, for me, I love natural stone. If you think it
Mm-hmm.
could work for your home, if you think it could work for your lifestyle, if you know you won't mind the odd stain or chip, then I think you should do it. And I think it is worth the investment. If you don't, it isn't, or not this time around, or
Yeah.
whatever, you know?
And if you ever watch, do you ever watch the TV show with Deval Kitchens?
Oh,
It was on like, I can't remember what channel it was on at one stage, but like anyway, it wasn't renewed for a second or third season. But they used to talk about stone, and they were like, we think stone is just so beautiful, like that we would never spec anything but natural stone. But we think the patina over time is its beauty, like
yeah,
aging it in, and you know, so if you're picking finishes like that or finishes that are veneered wood maybe that might, you know, mark a little bit more, but they might age in a bit nicer as
yeah,
well. So like you just have to be comfortable with the aging and the dings it might get and stuff like that. Make
yeah,
sure you're happy with all that.
agreed.
Yeah.
All right, that is trade secrets from your kitchen supplier.
Yeah.
And we'll be back next week.
Talk to you then. If you enjoyed that episode, likes, shares, and subscribes really help us out. So if you can, please do. Thank you.